morning, ladies and gentlemen. I bring you greetings from the leadership and staff of the African Development Bank. Dr. Fowler is unfortunately unable to join us today due to competing scheduling. However, the sector director was with us since Wednesday. She had to go back yesterday because there is another meeting in Joburg. So we apologize for that. But don't worry, you are stuck with me. Yeah, so who is the African Development Bank? It walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, but it's not a duck. It's not a commercial bank. It hasn't got a teller that you can go and withdraw money. It is a development bank. So what does it do? It mobilizes resources within Africa and outside the continent to support development efforts in the continent. Every 2 years, we meet with potential donors and we make our case and we are replenished. Last year, we raised $8 billion for African development. And this amount is divided per each country based on the formula. So every member country of the bank, there are 53, all the 53 African countries are members of the bank. And so each country gets an allocation every 2 years. And it's up to you to determine what your priorities are and who will support you with your envelope to respond to those priorities. Now, what do we do? And today I'll focus on education. We support networks of excellence. For example, there is a facility in Burkina Faso called the Institute for Environmental and Water Engineering. We support them. We support the AUST, African University of Science and Technology in Abuja. It's part of the Nelson Mandela Foundation initiatives. We support the AVU, African Virtual University, and now we're working with the Pan-African University, with the AU also to set up this facility. We also support infrastructure in higher education, science and technology, and we're also trying to link education and training to the private sector. Why do we do what we're doing? And this is very glaring. In 1960, Ghana and Korea were almost at the same level. The GDP for Ghana was $150, Korea was $100. By 2005, Korea's GDP was $16,000 and Ghana was $512. What happened? Korea invested in human capital, science and technology. Ghana was busy digging up gold and diamond and whatnots. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a powerful message. Today, Korea's GDP is 23,000 plus, almost 24,000. Ghana is about 2,000, 3,000, and even that they are beating their chest, they are a middle income country. We have work to do. Why do we do what we're doing? Because Africa is increasing, the population is increasing, we all know. There is rapid economic growth. There are about 7 or 8 countries that have more than 5% economic growth over the last few years. There is a technological revolution also. Africa is not immune to that. There is political transformation. Less civil strife, less wars. Democracy is taking root. At the same time, we also face environmental challenges. We know what is happening in Eastern Africa now, the Horn of Africa, and also West Africa, the climate change. And also the aid landscape. We all know the global financial crisis has hit developing countries, OECD countries. We had recently the IMF and World Bank report on Europe. It's going to have severe impacts on Africa. So the landscape has changed. Now, Africa is a growing continent, fast-growing continent. By 2050, and I hope most of us will be around, there will be 2.3 billion people. And it will be the most populous continent after Asia, with the youngest population in the world. We will have a workforce that supersedes China and India by 2040. So there are opportunities. However, this youth bulge can be a double trouble. 60% of our youth are unemployed or underemployed. The figures are there. Zimbabwe, for example, you can see the youth population employed is higher than the other population that are unemployed. The technology wave also is catching Africa. The African mobile subscriber base is roughly 281 million today, expected to reach 561 million by this year. We are talking about 2012. This is a huge market for you ICT developers and service providers. And yet, we lag behind in connectivity. A lot has been said about this already, and internet access. Only 3 out of 1,000 people use internet in Sierra Leone. And 1 out of 1,000 has a computer in Niger. This is unacceptable. We are lagging behind also in the global race. You've heard this morning, so I will not. Look at where Africa is, look at where Europe is. Look at it's just like day and night. So, how do we do what we're doing? How are we supporting our member countries? We support skills development to support investments in infrastructure and other economic sectors. We strengthen science and technology programs and projects. Most of your countries have worked with the ADB and are very familiar with some of this. We also aggressively promoting regional integration. Large numbers of our youth are being pushed through the education system, and the quality of education, as you all mentioned, remains very low, especially in math and science. And here we are talking of technology, we are talking of ICT, but the basic foundation is math and science. I think the PISA results and TIPS results, how many African countries? I think there are about 2 or 3, Tunisia, Mauritius, Ghana. That's it. Yet, the best university in Africa, our best university, and that's the University of Cape Town, in the world it ranks 324, not even among the first 100. So, what is the bank doing? Having looked at the landscape in Africa, we are presently discussing how to develop a new model of education for Africa. And this model of education will be based on ICT, because somebody mentioned yesterday, if we can't take the students to the school should be taken to the students. And this can be done only through ICT. We make education responsive to the labor market. So every child that comes from school should be marketable. And so we're working through promoting private-public partnerships. We also encourage, through our programs and projects, to ensure that our children develop the critical thinking, because that's the basis for scientific reasoning. We're also promoting participation. Every citizen has something to offer to the country. And no, as George Bush said before, no child should be left behind. I think it's very, very relevant for Africa. And we're also working to show evidence where we have programs and projects. We should be able to show citizens what we have accomplished in education, in science and technology. Why are we investing in human capital? Because education and health, and especially education with the new technologies, and social protection are essential building blocks for economic and social development and poverty reduction. Investments in health and nutrition lead to gains in productivity because a healthy workforce produces more. We invest in education and training because it will improve workforce skills and productivity. And how are we investing in science, technology, and innovation? We do that through infrastructure by upgrading existing or new infrastructure, buildings, softwares, equipment, laboratories. We partner with the private sector. We also do through capacity building and also through studies and research. How do we finance our interventions, our operations? We finance our interventions operations through public, what we call regional public good. That is any project or program that involves 2, 3, 4 countries, where no country loses because it's participating in such a program. And that's also a window for regional integration. So we promote or we support most of our programs and projects through regional public goods. We also support programs and finance programs and projects through loans and grants to our member countries. We have African Development Fund loans and grants. We have African Development Bank loans and grants. And we have the middle income, which is the MIC, middle income countries loans and grants. And I'll explain how to assess those funds. And then we have the trust funds. I'll come to that again. The loans and grants. Who qualifies for a loan or a grant? All the middle income countries, which includes all the North African countries and all the Southern African countries, are middle income countries, according to a formula by the IMF and the World Bank. So those countries don't qualify for grants. Grants are concessionary loans. So they get loans, but below the commercial interest rates that you get at the commercial banks. The ADF countries, that is the poor countries, which where most of the African countries are situated, get grants. And the grants are almost like giveaways. So they pay very little interest on the grants. The middle income country grants is similar to the ADF grants in both situations, because as one of our speakers mentioned earlier on, when you give something free, nobody takes care of it. Nobody washes a rented car, right? So we ensure that there is at least a 10% contribution to the grant. So if we are giving you a grant for, say, 10 million, you have to provide 10% of the 10 million. So that at least there's a commitment. And then we have the trust funds. Some countries have decided, look, we also want to be players in Africa. We already contribute to the African Development Bank, but we want to have some envelope that we will identify certain countries, certain programs that we would like to support. So we have trust funds like the China Trust Fund, Indian Trust Fund, Korea Trust Fund, Canadian Trust Fund, and we have about 20 plus of those trust funds that are specifically allocated to certain countries and to certain programs or projects. For example, the Korea Trust Fund will support programs in ICTE, in the human resources development, in certain countries, including Namibia, South Africa, etc. So those trust funds are also available to support these countries. We also provide budget support, which is a PBO, a different instrument, for countries that are facing some financial crisis and are unable to meet their budget needs. So in conclusion, why is the bank interested in education and skills development? Because we believe that Africa has the opportunity to develop, not at the same pace as Europe and America, but even within a shorter period of time. And this can be done with the help of ICT. But we can only achieve this if the investment is timely. We cannot wait for another 5 years before we decide that the rural area should be opened to educational opportunities. 5 years is a lifetime today. So, we know politicians take so much time to make decisions. We cannot afford the luxury of time this time. The resources are there. We will support you. But the onus is on you. Because you owe it. You give the people the promise that you will work with them to improve their lives. So, honorable ministers, education administrators, the onus is on you. And the African Development Bank is there to work with you, to support you. In Jesus' name, thank you.